So Jack and I had a back-to-back to see who's taller, who could go first, and he beat me by a hair, so thanks, Jack. No, so I'm Brett Fritz. I'm with a company called ConvergenSEE. Thank you. And yeah, happy to be here today. I do a lot with the LSA, and Greg and Kevin and team put on a great event. So thanks for being here. Hopefully you're going to learn a little bit. We're going to talk about boosting your online visibility. So Jack did a great job just kind of setting the stage. And one of the most key slides he had up there at the end was that this is difficult, and it's really hard to get found in search. There's whole conferences that spend a week talking tactics and techniques and really technical, getting into search engine optimization and search engine marketing and how to do a website the right way. I'm not here to do that. We're going to keep it pretty easy. So in the next 30 minutes, I want to do a couple things. First, I want to spend 2 minutes just defining what is this online visibility, what does it mean, kind of piggybacking off of the customer journey discussion you just had. Second, a couple minutes, what are ways you can gain online visibility, help yourself get found. But then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. Start with something really easy, the first things that you should be doing. And I'll give you some takeaways that even tonight you could get home, make sure this is done for your business, a couple good tips and techniques. If there's any time, we'll have questions, we'll go from there. So, what is online visibility? Keeping it simple, customer journey. We're going to start with a guy named, we'll call him Fred. So this is Fred. Fred this morning, and he's thinking to himself, I want coffee. This is me. This is probably a lot of you this morning. I got drenched in the rain coming in from the suburbs, and all I wanted was a cup of coffee. And I sat to myself, and I'm thinking, or Fred says, do I want Starbucks? Do I want Dunkin' Donuts? Do I want Caribou? And he ponders, and he says, I just want coffee. So what did Fred do? Well, he did like all of us did, and like Jack showed. He went to his mobile phone, and he did a search. And the last example showed, restaurant in a city. The search I use a lot is near me, right? So I'll do coffee near me, restaurant near me. And there's two ways you can look at it. You can say a branded search. So if I know I want a Starbucks, I'm going to do Starbucks near me. Or a non-branded. I'm looking for coffee. I'm looking for a product. I'm looking for a service. This is how consumers are searching. And I'm sure every one of you have examples of how you do that search as well. If you're in markets, even if I'm in my hometown, I know how I'm going to be searching. I have certain things. If I don't like the results I see, I'm going to do another search. Right? I'm going to change the keywords up. So ultimately, this is online visibility, being able to have your business found when a consumer is searching for your products, your services, your brand in market. And you want to be that answer. Just like the last presenter said, you want to be found at that moment of intent. Right? So Google's trying to serve up the best answer. You want to be the best answer at that moment. So hopefully, we're going to have a couple tips and techniques today. And then I know you're going to learn a lot more later from Yelp and from Google, getting really technical on how to get into stuff, but we'll kind of dig right into it. Now, why is this important? A couple quick stats, right? So over 2/3 of the consumers out there, they believe that a local search on their mobile device is the best, right? And they're gonna find that information, they're gonna go visit your store within about a week, and they're gonna buy something. So if you show up, they find you, they're gonna buy something. If the information's wrong, they're gonna blame you. And they're going to say, yep, your store hours were wrong, you weren't open when you said you were, your phone number's incorrect, you're bad, you got to fix this, right? So you got to make sure that information is out there correctly at that moment of intent. And people are thinking that you're trustworthy, right? They're trusting Google to be correct. Google's not wrong, it's you that's wrong. So you want to make sure that you're found at that correct information at that right time. If you don't believe me, ask Greg. Greg he's got a great experience. He wrote about Greg lives out in the West Coast, and I really encourage you to read this article he put up. When was it, January, I think, Greg?
It was just like a couple of months ago.
January, February, he was out searching for furniture. He knew what furniture he wanted. He had a coupon. He was like, I'm going to Macy's today to buy $1,000 worth of furniture. And
It's not exactly how it happened.
Well, close enough, yeah. So read the article. It's a great article. As a result, the information was wrong. He didn't get his furniture that day.
Let me tell the story real quick.
Okay, we'll extend your time. Okay, so what happened was, I've been in the market for a couch and living room chairs for a long time. My couch is like 20 years old. It's falling apart. near my house, Macy's only has certain stores that are furniture stores. I looked for them on Google. They identified one in a suburb of near where I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it turns out they didn't have furniture in that store. So I went to the store and I said, "Where's the furniture department?" "Oh, we don't have one in the store." And I said, "But here it is." I showed the guy on Google. They say this is a furniture store, and he said, "Well, I don't know how that happened," And I said, "Well, you ought to tell your superiors that this is going on." And I was prepared to spend at least $1,000 on a particular couch that was on sale that I had seen in the Macy's catalog, in the physical direct mail catalog. And because of the hassle of getting to the furniture store further away, I didn't do it. And that was at least $1,000 that I would have spent, that I didn't spend and haven't spent to this day. So that is the cost. That is the cost of bad data for Macy's, is at least $1,000. Because if they had been clear to me, I would have gone to the right store in the first place, probably would have bought the couch. So take that.
So there's the story. I read it when it first came out, and I was like, wow, that's a great experience. And it's a great story. We all have those stories. And you're probably thinking to yourself as a small business owner, yeah, but that's Macy's, right? Well, it's Macy's. They're a huge company, and you think that they can get it right, but they still don't get it right, right? So, they've got millions of dollars they're spending on these tactics and search, and, they've got agencies and partners, and they're still struggling. So we know this is tough, right? This is not easy. So let's start with some really easy, simple techniques and tips that you can do, because you don't want to be like this example of Macy's, where you have someone that wants to buy what you're selling, and they can't find you, or they get the wrong information. And then they're all pissed off at you, and they go to your competitor. So, great story by Greg. Okay, so what do we do? There are a lot of studies that have come out, a lot of articles that are written. Like I said, there's whole conferences that talk about this. And one in particular that I really would encourage you to look at is a company called Moz, M-O-Z. They put out what they call their Local Search Ranking Factors Report. You don't have to read all this. As I look at it, I'm like, link signals, on-page signals, behavioral signals. Oh my gosh, what does all this mean? They've got a whole other section that says if I want to rank organically, so not in the maps pack, not in a paid pack, but in organic search. This is like a 46-page study. I read through this, and I'm in this industry, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do, right? And I think I'm kind of a technically savvy person, right? But it's really complicated stuff. So, sure, you can read it. It's a Moz Local Ranking Factor. You're going to get the article, the presentations later. There's a link on there. Go through it. It's good information. But it's a lot, right? We could spend all day going through it. Instead, let's start with something easy. So, what's the first thing you should do? Later today, Maria is going to get up from Google and talk about ways to really optimize your Google profile. I want to give you the quick down and dirty ways. So step one is you really need to be optimizing your Google My Business profile, get it verified, and then work with what's called listing management. Anyone familiar with the term listing management or local search? Is that a common term to anybody? I'll define it for you. So listing management, it really ensures that your business name, your address, and your phone number are accurately getting published online in different places, but really where consumers are searching for you. And we'll look at some really key sites that are important. So a kind of an industry term is NAP, name, address, phone number, but making sure that that information is getting published properly online where people are finding you. Now, does it need to be on the far corners of the web? No. No, you need to be in the key sites. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about Google My Business. And I'm not going to get deep into it because I know Google's here and we want her to speak from the horse's mouth, as they say, give a better accurate description. But I'm going to tell you from my point of view what Google means and what you should be doing to make sure that your GMB, your Google My Business profile is correct. So as a step one, what do you need to do? Well, I, as a consumer, as a business owner, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go search for myself on Google. And I'm sure everyone's done that before, right? You've kind of searched for your own business. Go to Google Maps and type in your business name, type in your address. See if you show up. See if you have a profile there online. Most likely you do. If you don't, there's things you can do to kind of get that profile set up. But in this example here, 2 different Chinese restaurants here in Chicago. You can see on the left, there's a suggest and edit down at the bottom. That's a link that you could, as a consumer say, no, this place is open at a certain time. But on the right, it also says own this business, ? Right? So if this is your business and you own it, yeah, you want to take ownership of that. You want to claim it. You want to verify that this is you. So you can see a lot of information is on here: your name, your address, your phone number, your different profile, your hours of operation. If you're a restaurant, you can put menu data in here. A lot of detailed information that Google's going to go through later today to talk through how you can get that information really put in there. But step one, see what's online for you. Once you find your profile, you can go to google.com or getyourbusinessonline.com. Google's going to go through a lot of this today, talking through how to get this profile claimed, verified, and optimized properly. And you do need a Google account to actually set up these profiles. So simple Gmail is the easiest way to do it. Get a Gmail email address, it's free, right? Google, getting your profile set up is free. Getting it all set up, and then there comes a point you get your information all set up and in there, your profile's fully filled out, and you actually have to claim and verify your listing. Has anyone done this before? Yeah, a lot of you. So you know the process, right? So you can get a phone call from Google, you can do a text message from Google, or in some cases, it has to be a postcard. No one likes getting the postcard because it gets lost, or you're always on the lookout for it. But these are the options, and Google does give you different ways to get it done. If you have not claimed and verified, you got to get this done. This is like key step number one for your business. Get your profile verified on GMB. If and when your business grows and you get to multiple locations, anyone in here have multiple locations? Yeah, right? So if you have over 10 locations, I know it seems like a lot, but if you have over 10, Google gives you more options. You can do like bulk verification. So think of this as kind of a goal, right? You're growing your business, you're opening up your second flower shop, your second, et cetera, right? You can get bulk verification, so it becomes an easier process for you over time. Okay, so step one, get Google done. You get it optimized, you get it set up. Again, a lot of detail later. Maria's going to go through and talk a lot more technical than I am today on that. But don't forget about other sites, right? So we talked about that listing management approach of saying what else is out there, where are people searching for you. So the sites I always like to recommend to small businesses, don't forget about Facebook, right? Facebook's a really key point in place that people still do search for and find information on. So there's a lot that you can do with Facebook. Don't forget about Apple. Apple, sometimes people just kind of forget it's there, even though we all have iPhones, or X number of people have iPhones, but Apple's an important place that you need to be thinking about. Can't leave out Yelp. We're sitting in their office, right? So obviously, depending on who you are and what's important, Yelp's a very powerful, what's called a citation source, right? A listing source for having a profile. And then I like to remind people that Bing still does exist, right? It is still there. It doesn't get a lot of search traffic, but it does.
33% of U.S. search query volume is on there.
33% of U.S. search query volume still on Bing. So yeah, it still does exist. It's still there. So these are really important sites that you don't want to forget about. Google, number one. I think we can all agree to that, but then there are other sites that are important as well. Now, beyond these I'll call them the top 5, there are hundreds of other places your information's getting found. Different sites like TomTom for driving directions, YP.com, TripAdvisor, Local.com, Here Maps, Judy's Book. These are crazy, right? There's so many. Every day I get a business comes up to me and says, have you ever heard of this online business directory? And it's some random directory.com. And I'm like, wow, I've never heard of it. Oh yeah, well my customers found me and the information's wrong. What do I do? How do I fix it? Right? So there's hundreds of these places. Don't get overwhelmed by these. Don't worry about these, little small corners of the web as much as you should some big names. But if it is important, there are some additional resources you can do. They're paid resources, some providers out there. They're called data aggregators or data providers, core data providers, some different names. Some of these big groups, Info Group, Newstar Localese, Factual. These guys are kind of like the back-end data warehouse of a lot of the far-reaching corners of the web. And they supply business listing information to hundreds of different sites, all those little corners and sites. Most of these guys do have a cost to it. Some of them won't work with you directly. They'll make you work through people like me or like others that are here, right, to be a partner because we have the bigger relationship. But if this is important, right, we can help you get on those sites to make sure that those pieces of the web, those name, address, and phone numbers in those profile sites are found accurately and correctly as far as we can reach out there. Everybody tracking good? Yeah? Okay, so listing management, getting out there, making sure that you're found correctly on all these different sites, starting with Google, super important to do. But then what's next? What do you do after that, right? Again, there's full talk tracks and weeks of technical stuff that we could talk about search engine optimization and content and how you should write stuff the right way. I don't want to go through all that. It's too technical to do that for today. But I do want to leave you with 5 different quick tips, and then we'll do a quick recap, and then we'll ask some questions if there's any time. And I am here all day as well. So, first quick tip that I would give is we all have websites. Make sure that your name, address, and your phone number is found on your website. Seems pretty simple, seems like a kind of a no-brainer, but it's amazing how many websites I still see that don't have the business name listed on the homepage. They don't have the address listed on the homepage. It doesn't matter if it's in the header or the footer or in the content. Make sure it's out there, you know, and you've got your name, your address, your phone number, just like in this Northbrook flower shop. This is down in the footer, but the NAP is there. So make sure it's listed properly, and make sure Google can read it, right? So make sure it's indexable text. It's not an image. Images are tough, right? Although Google is getting a lot better with image reading, I don't advise putting your business name, your address, your phone number in an image on your website. I'd rather see from a search engine optimization perspective that it actually is text that can be spidered and read, and Google can understand what it is. But again, they're getting a lot better at that anyways. So make sure your NAP, your name, address, and phone number is on your website, your home page, maybe in the footer of every page on your site. That's number 1. Number 2, create awesome content. Anyone have a blog? Yeah? Okay, about half. Social media, you write posts? Yeah? That's probably a lot easier to do. Write as much content as you can, right? Like every day you're thinking about something, write content. It's out there. You know your business better than everyone. Write. Get it out there. If you need help with that, there's tons of great providers that can help you with that. But you know best. You have the best voice for your business. Content's king still, so keep writing good content. That'd be tip number 2. Number 3, optimize for mobile. And Jack said this at the beginning. Over X% of search is now mobile search. Make sure that your website's mobilely optimized. People can read it. I get so frustrated if I pull up a website and I have to scroll or I have to pinch and zoom, just like we talked about this morning. So make sure you have a mobile strategy. Number 4, and this is something obviously really important because we're here in Yelp, but have a review strategy. Make sure that you understand how to see your reviews, respond to your reviews. What's your messaging going to be for your online reputation in general? There was a tweet that came out either last night or this morning, I saw it this morning, from someone that I really respect in the industry. And he said, people should not have a review strategy to get new reviews. They should have a review strategy to earn more reviews. And earn was the key word there, right? You want your consumers to actually give you reviews. Whether they're good or bad, you want to earn your right to have that message come back. And I do like to remind people, and we were talking about this morning a little bit with Yelp, is if you get a bad review, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of responding to it. Don't be afraid of owning up to the mistake that was made, right? You had a bad mistake, I'm sorry, forgive me, please. Don't ignore it, because it's not going away. And if you ignore it, it's going to escalate, and others are going to see that you ignore those bad ones. So good, bad, ugly, respond. Have a good strategy in place. Good question?
Real quick question. I've seen some review strategies where people will think or respond to every review if they're a smaller business. Is that a good strategy or not necessarily?
So just like the first session, I'm going to let Yelp respond to that because they're more of an expert on it than I am, but you have a comment?
I'll say something. So you're saying, is the question respond to every review?
Yeah. Is that a good idea or does it not really matter?
Well, some people will tell you yes, it's a good idea to thank people for reviews and to respond to them, especially if they're critical reviews. And other people will say you don't need to respond to every review. I think you need to be thoughtful. I mean, think you're talking to your customers. So there's 2 things. You're responding to customers and you're speaking to the prospects who haven't used your business. So people, when there's a problem, people who are looking for you and reading reviews to make a decision are going to want to see that you acknowledge a problem or that you remedied the problem and that you're taking feedback. I mean, the thing that happens to people, and I'll give this back to Brett, is that people start thinking about the machines, they start thinking about the system and the rules, and really you need to think about your customers. That's who's on the other end of this, is a human being who has a need. look at the world from your customer's perspective and the perspective of the people who are choosing you or would choose you from among a number of competitors. And you fall into, this is the point about earning reviews. I mean, we just did 3 days of conference for industry professionals, and one of the review sessions that we did, you were talking about Mike Blumenthal is the guy. So this guy, the same guy that did the tweet, was saying people shouldn't have a review strategy for search optimization. You shouldn't be thinking about Google's algorithm. You should just be thinking about the customer. You know, content is for the customer. It's not for Google, right? And people fall into this trap. So respond to reviews when it makes sense. Talk to the customer, try and make the situation right. Thank people for reviews when they're especially good, but don't write the same generic message every single time. Thank you for your review, generic message, generic message. Then people think you're a robot or that you're mindless, or, you know, I mean, think about common sense, you know. How would you respond if you saw something like that, right? What would you want to see in that situation?
Yeah, and I tell people, how would you respond if they came into your store, right, and they said something to you? Would you maybe just smile and nod and say thank you? Right? Great. You probably don't need to respond to an online review like that. But if they're like, oh my God, you're the best ever, and I love the way your flowers smell, they smell better than anyone else in the whole world, you'd probably say, well, yeah, thank you. We get them cut from our own garden. Or, you know, you go into detail because it's like that's a conversation you're having. You're not trying to respond to that.
Hi, Kenny Whitelaw, Thomas Howell Consulting. We've actually turned negative reviews into new business with an appropriate response.
So give us an example of that.
Most of our negative reviews are not from our clients. They're from other people who were pissed off that we did our job. And subsequently we'll respond to that saying this was not our client. Our client was happy with our service. If you have any concerns, please contact us directly and we'll respond appropriately. And people who are reading reviews see that and they like that because we're responding to negative comments and we're turning it around and saying, come on, we'll help.
Yeah. I've heard stories but the business actually did make the mistake. It was an issue, and they owned up to it.
Right.
They said, you know what, sorry, we've made changes to our process. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Going forward, this is what we're going to be doing, and it helps in the future.
If people see you're proactive, they like that.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, people respond to service. If you look at restaurant reviews, a lot of the time the negative criticism is because, oh, this person was rude to me, or in a hotel, the front desk was really rude. Service is often the differentiator, so it extends to reviews. If your review responses demonstrate that you care and that you're thoughtful about service, that's going to be recognized by people. Oh, you know, and everybody knows there are lunatics in the world who write bad reviews or who have bad experiences. I mean, that's sort of par for the course. There's a lot of common sense in the market. Other questions for Brett?
Well, I just wanted to piggyback on what you just said. We, in our business, we're in a salon business, we go by how you make a client feel. Because you can even do a great service, but if somebody was rude to them or something else happened, it's how they feel after they leave, not necessarily how they look. It could be the same in a restaurant. They may have had a good dinner, but if everything else was bad, that's where you get a negative review.
Yeah, okay, I'll refrain from commenting. I can say a lot of stuff. There's on one level, there's the really simple version of all of this, and then there's the really super complicated version of this. And the simple version is, on the key sites, have your data in there, make sure it's correct, so that you don't do what I did and drive to Macy's only to find out that the furniture isn't there. Put pictures up, give people a sense of what you're doing, give people a sense of your business, convey the personality of your business online. How many people know the term knowledge panel? Does that mean anything to anybody? So how many people have seen on the right side of Google on the desktop a column that has a bunch of information in it, right? People have all seen that? Google calls that its knowledge panel. And in that panel is a lot of information, including reservation buttons now from time to time. There's also images in there. There's review citations in there, meaning they'll refer you to other sites that have reviews. And there's what they call Q&A in there. So how many people are aware of Google Q&A? So this is a new feature where anybody can ask a question about a business. Do they have great colorists in that salon? And somebody who may have been there might say, yes, they have great stylists who do all these great things. And the business owner has no control over that. But you need to look at that as another sort of review. It's not reviews exactly, but it's another source of information about your business. And you should be monitoring that and participating in that conversation. And sometimes people say very critical things like, oh, these people were really mean. And then you come back and you say, no, we're not mean. Come in for a free lunch or whatever, you know. I mean, but the point is, you need to be aware of what people are saying about you online and participate in that conversation. Sorry, Brett.
No, that's great.
Other questions over here? I'm coming.
Going back a little bit to your create awesome content and every day, like I was posting on Facebook every day for our company and just doing different promotions or things that are going on, but then you know, you get a call from Main Street Hub who then is trying to get our business, and I'm listening to their presentation and they tell you not to do it every day. So what are your thoughts that it's almost, but like Facebook, you only reach, my thought process is you only reach a certain amount of people, you know, because it goes out to different people every day. So it doesn't reach everybody every day. So why wouldn't you post every day?
Yeah, you need to be smart about having too much content fatigue, right? So people see you over and over and over. It's the same stuff every time, right? You got to be careful because then it becomes noise, and people will stop listening to you. So when I say create awesome content, you know it better than we would. You know your audience better. There are a lot of platforms out there that'll tell you post only on a Tuesday at this time. I don't think that's how consumers work. Again, they're telling you to do that for the search engines. Do it for what you believe is best for your customers, for your business. If you think doing it every day is the way to do it, and you can come up with good, unique content every day, do it. Right? Do what you think is best for you and what makes you feel best about your business, because it's your representation of who you are, and you're putting yourself out there.
Don't just create content to create content, right? I mean, there are people who work in search optimization that'll say, we had a guy on a session in our event who was talking about, you know, company XYZ is creating 1,000 articles a month, and they're getting, you know, they're going up in ranking because of all this content. Well, Google, if too many people do that, Google will change its algorithm to prevent that from happening. You need to focus on quality. I mean, you know, you need to be regular, but focus on quality. So if the choice is between writing one good article a week and writing 3 bad or mediocre articles that you rush out, write one article, you know, that's going to mean something to somebody, right? And think about for content, think about the questions that your customers are thinking about or asking. Help them understand your business. I mean, this is something when people talk about, Jack showed the Google Home. So people want to know how do they do stuff for that device, and the expert recommendations are write content that answers questions. So if you're a earthquake retrofit, I live in California, so you know I live like a mile from a major earthquake fault, the Hayward Fault, that hasn't blown in 100 years. The big one is coming. So if I'm an earthquake retrofit guy, then I can say, here are some tips. You know, what are the questions that will help educate my customers? Here, be helpful to your customers. Don't sell to them, educate them, right? And build content around the things that they need to understand. I mean, if it's getting their hair cut, maybe that's not such a complicated thing, but there are other kinds of things that you can educate them about that form the basis for a lot of content that you can create. Or do pictures, you know, show them what you're doing, what your services are.
Yeah, last comment, and then we'll move on to the next presenter. So thank you. I did some consulting for a small business, and they said, I get the same 5 questions from my clients every day. And I said, okay, well, how are you answering them? They said, well, I'm writing an email, I'm responding. I said, why don't you put a frequently asked questions section on your website? Put an FAQ out there. Those are the 5 questions. And then as you see trends, add to it. And they were like, oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. And I said, yeah, great. Okay, great. So
let me go over there.
We'll do one more question. So Greg's coming around. Just as a thank you, and as we come around here, I do have a couple of free guides. If you want to learn just tips and techniques on how to set up your Google listing, just kind of down and dirty from a consumer perspective, also from a Facebook perspective, stop on by, leave me your business information, and I'll send it to you.
What's number 5? We only made it to number 4.
I know. We did go quick there. No, number 5 was if you do have multiple locations, don't forget to have a good strategy in place for all 5, or for all of your locations. And I know there's only a handful of you that have multiple locations out there. So, another question.
About Facebook page showing up in searches, how do you feel about changing the name of your Facebook page to go with like your business? Say you rebranded, or your name is also your own name is your brand, but you also have a company name. Does that screw up searchability if you change your Facebook page?
So repeat the question. Sorry, I didn't get over it. Or you can repeat the question.
Does it ruin your searchability if you change your Facebook page name for your business?
I think the question becomes, for your business name, if people know you by multiple entities, you have a personal brand versus you have your business entity name, right? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like, what should you put your Facebook page as?
Yeah, and is it risky to change it?
So personal Facebook page versus business name?
Business page.
And you change your business page name.
Yeah, I'm asking him, will that ruin like your ability to be found online?
So the best practice is whatever your business name is, whatever you are incorporated as, whatever people know you as, whatever's on your business card or your storefront, that's what your profile page should be. And that goes back to the...
No. You can answer her privately?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different techniques, and people say certain things certain ways. But to keep that consistency, name, address, and phone number.
Yeah, all right. So we've got another answer here.
I just want to clear up her question, if it's possible. Changing business name or changing business URL? Okay, Facebook. If you change the name, the Facebook URL does not change. I just want to clarify that. So you got to pay attention. You can change the name. It will affect because you won't match your NAP. And Facebook, it's apparently second. You can also change the name, but you can change the URL page of Facebook. So that's more important than the name. If you change the name, the impact is less. If you change the name plus Facebook URL, then no. Yes, it impacts very much.
And that's an illustration of the complexity of the whole situation.
Correct.
One last question? Okay, hold on. And remember that, remember that Brett is here as well as everybody else, so you can ask these questions when we're on breaks. So whose question was it? Okay.
Hey, Brett. I just had a quick comment and sort of a question about one of the first tips you gave for people just starting out with this, to search your business on Google. Should they be doing that from a incognito window for best results because of the way Google tracks behaviors and in your own search history? Sure.
Yes. I wouldn't search my business every day. I wouldn't go into Google every day and search for my business. Because just like Greg said, you start to do things over and over and over, and Google's going to see that there's some history, there's some behavioral things going on, and they're going to change the algorithm, tweak it certain ways. So you can put your search engine, your browser in incognito. So you can go in there and kind of say, don't track me, don't tell me who I am. But it's a quick and dirty way to kind of hide yourself. Good question.
Okay, round of applause for Brett.
Thank you.